But yes, we are talking about, she has a practice that is focused on, toxic parents and how to cope and heal from having gone through the experience of having a toxic parent or toxic parents. So we're going to kind of be on that topic today and hit a few points and a few concrete areas that you would want to know if this is something that you've dealt with, or if this is something that you would want to help a family member or loved one with. All right, so we're going to get started and just have you kind of tell us a little bit about your background, your experience, and why this is an important area for you. It's a real like kind of niche area. And why did you choose this?
Yeah, like you said, I'm a life coach and a therapist. I'm based in Warsaw, Poland, and I started in the life coaching business a few years back, and I was a life coach focused on change in general, but I quickly noticed that whatever the obstacles my clients had, they were all based in childhood, basically.
Wow.
And since my own childhood was, and my mother is narcissistic, and my childhood was toxic, so it's a topic which is close to me as well. So I decided to focus on that, especially that it's still kind of a taboo subject in Poland, and I know that in other parts of the world as well. People who deal with this problem often hear, well, but she's your mother, it's a family, you can't say that against your family member, you can't basically go against your family members. So
blood is thicker than water and all of those.
Exactly, yeah, all that. So those
the Bible says, to honor your mother and father,
Yeah, all those, and
their parents abusive,
Yeah. I mean, of course, people deserve respect, but if you don't get respect, it's like there is no balance. So those people are basically left alone and are really struggling with those social norms and in general, being a child of toxic parents is hard in itself already because, like growing up in this type of environment, you don't really know what's right or wrong. And it's really confusing. So, yeah, I decided to support and help such people to live their own life finally, and to just free themselves from this toxic background.
I love it. I can identify with some of what you're saying about growing up with toxic parents, abusive. I had abuse and toxicity combined. I was sexually abused in the home, and then I was scapegoated, made to be like a liar and someone trying to destroy the family. And I was kind of like, pushed out of the family and kind of like, made to be like the black sheep because I spoke up, and I call it like being the whistleblower of the family. And then there was like different roles. There was like a perfect child that they had. There was like a helper child. And then I was like the bad kid, So it's kind of like everyone kind of played that role, whether they purposely were trying to hurt me or not, So just like a real toxic dynamic, and the dynamic never ended. Like as I got older, I'm like, okay, maybe they'll stop, or maybe they'll, realize, they need to make peace or really truly apologize. But it never happened. And I was sitting around waiting for something that never happened, and kept leaving myself open to be kicked, battered, bruised, verbally attacked, ignored, stonewalled, invalidated. Say I could, get a new degree or, get licensed as a clinician or something, and there's no claps, there's no nothing, like just to be made to feel significant and all those kind of things. So, it wasn't until super, super recently where I, there was always a distance, but I always had this thing of, trying to mend something. And it wasn't until pretty recently, after I came out of a narcissistic marriage, that I realized that I could just spot narcs everywhere. And I finally had a name to what my family had a lot of in it, and, what my parents were. And they're very narcissistic and very unhealthy. So I realized I'm cutting it off, because there'll never be peace. I'll always leave myself to get hurt because I have a big heart, and that gets taken advantage of.
That's a very brave decision you made, and like really be proud of yourself. I hope you are, because it's a huge thing, you know.
Hard.
Because it is, yeah, and there are many people who reach out to me and they say, "Listen, I'm 40 something years old, and I just found out that my family is toxic. That all of those things that were happening in my youth and even now, that it's all toxic. I had no idea that parents can't, like, shouldn't talk like that to you or behave like that towards you. You know, it's amazing." Yeah, and it's really difficult to cut family out because of the taboo and the stuff that we talked about before. But it's also um, because of the manipulation that we are a part of when we are children in those toxic families. You know, because toxic parenting, it's from being overprotective to the total different side of the spectrum, which is neglect, mental,
Yeah.
physical, sexual abuse, and it's everything in between. It's comparing siblings, putting them against each other, like you said, putting them in different roles where one is the scapegoat and one is the golden child, one is invisible and the other one is this, you know, clown who's making everybody laugh. And yeah, that's the roles that we play in those families. So it's really so much like miscommunication and just like plain manipulation. And growing up in this family, you don't even know what is good and what is wrong, and
No.
you have no idea. You think,
I don't
because you
know
know,
what's
when you
healthy.
are a kid, when you are a kid, you assume that your parents are gods. Whatever they do is good, you know. Whatever they
Yeah.
do is right for you, because they are right. And
Right.
it's like it's easier for a child to take the blame for all the bad that is going on at home than to blame their parents, because when they blame their parents, what is left? If the god, the
Thing.
parent, the god is, yeah, if he and she, if they are bad, then like, how can I deal with life? You know, I'm totally dependent on them. So yeah, so it's also a great burden of guilt that those people grow up with and enter the adult life and enter a relationship with, other relationships with. So,
Yes.
and
Yes. Yes.
the other thing is that trauma and toxicity, it runs through generations. So if you are a child of a toxic parent, it's pretty probable that if you don't address this issue, you will you will hand it over to your children, you know. So it's really important to address those issues if you are starting to be aware.
I want to add to like what you said. You know, like it's passed down from generation to generation, and even if you're not the toxic parent, you may have entered into a relationship with the person that you had children with, and that person is toxic. So there's this toxic dynamic that the child is witnessing,
Yeah.
even if you both are loving the child, but the child is now, you know, their first memories of interactions is like, it's not right, it's controlling, mom's being put down, or vice versa. Is this how we talk to each other? Oh, now we're gonna go like sit at the table and act like nothing happened and eat dinner. So it's kind of like weird, right? It's kind of like setting a kid up to be like a pre-narc.
Yeah.
It's not good at all. So yeah, I think that it's so important to know, like, if you felt bad, you need to make sure that you are very careful not to let that same pattern fall into place whenever you have kids. I know one thing with me is I was like over, what is it called? Overcompensating for the fact that I had such a bad childhood that I kind of like over spoiled my kids. So I'm learning to, pull back and be tougher with that, because I'm and people tell me like, hey, Tina, they haven't been through anything, but you're treating them like you just, rescued them from like some orphanage and they were like abused. They've never been through anything. You're spoiling them. Okay. You need to hold them accountable. You need to, not reward them constantly, and let them know that they got to work for things. And, if not, you're going to set them up for failure because they're going to be too dependent. So it was probably like 5 years ago or so, I started working on that and making sure that I was trying to, that's called like being overbearing too, because you're like so involved and you're like trying to make sure everything in that kid's life is right. And that's not good either.
Yeah, exactly. That's the other side of the spectrum, overprotectiveness and just like trying really hard to take every possible obstacle out of your children's life. And it's great in a way, but on the other hand, kids need obstacles to learn. I mean, reasonable obstacles, but you know what I mean, yeah? They needed to learn that not everything goes according to their wishes, that, there needs to be some friction in order for them to grow. So, but that's great that you had those people around you that were objective and could point that out, right? And that's also what a therapist does in a therapy environment. And this is great for healing, because when you are a child of toxic parents and you don't know what's right or wrong, it's really hard for you to start seeing things as they really are, and you kind of need this validation that, listen, you didn't do anything wrong. It's not you that is the villain here. You are the victim of this situation, not the one that should be ashamed or feel guilty, because shame and guilt, exactly, shame and guilt and other difficult emotions are just every day for adult children of toxic parents. So it's good to have somebody who will objectively to help you look at it in an objective way.
Yeah. So how can, having been raised and reared by toxic parenting affect your life and relationships? What kind of things, could you run into having not dealt with that part of your life?
Well, it's there is a syndrome called adult children of alcoholics, ACA, and it's the same with the adult children of dysfunctional families. It's because alcoholism is a dysfunction, it's the same as the other toxic traits of parents, right? So all the symptoms of adult children of alcoholics, which is basically based on very low self-esteem. And everything basically stems from that. And it's, low self-worth. You think that you don't deserve. You think that you're not enough. And it can... Exactly, not worthy of love, of attention, of a raise. Yeah, exactly. And it can go both ways. You can compensate it by being sorry, sometimes I forget the English words.
Overachiever, over accomplishment. Like you make sure that you'll never let anyone talk down on you like that, because you have stacked up so many credentials on top of. So you're like literally working and bulldozing your way out of, that trauma. But in the meantime, you still have the same, it just presents itself differently, but you still have the fundamental issues of, I'm not worthy unless I have ... No, no one will praise me. I have to perform at the highest level before I can accept myself and allow other people to accept me. So basically, I stay so busy so you don't leave any room to even have to deal with someone rejecting you, because you're so busy accomplishing things, right?
Yeah, exactly. And there is a straight road to perfectionism, which of course has its good sides, but it's also really nerve-wracking, and you will never be perfect, so it's like a straight road to frustration. So it's a different types of behaviors and ways of compensating, also like involving in like substance abuse, or the
Yeah, coping
like
with that void, filling that void with drugs, alcohol, sex.
yeah
Think bad
exactly.
boundaries. You don't have good boundaries because you don't feel like you have the right to say no. Like if someone likes you, you're like, okay, wow, they like me. I guess this is what happens next. So, you're always giving so much without laying down the rules of how you want things to go, because you're afraid that if you do tell someone how you want things to go, that you'll run them away, because who are you to, demand that you be treated a certain way? You should just be happy that you have a relationship. So, all of these things happen and you'll be like, gosh, this guy's very handsome. Why is he, feeling this way? Or wow, this woman's gorgeous. Like, what's going on? Well, no one's ever told that person that, so they don't feel that, and nor have they ever been treated that way, throughout their life. So they don't, this doesn't matter if you've been treated like you have poop on your face all your life,
Yeah, exactly. And if you haven't received the unconditional love when you were a child, then you basically don't know what love is, and you enter your life with this very big void inside of yourself, inside of your heart, and you try to fill it in with different actions, substances, people, and like you said, you don't set boundaries with people because you are afraid that you will scare them off. You feel that you should be giving and giving and giving, and you're afraid that when you stop giving, that then they will not love you anymore, because the love was conditional. The love that you received was conditional because you had to behave in such a way. You weren't allowed to be yourself. So it really makes adult life complicated, especially entering relationship, like intimate relationships, because you have a tendency to really be okay with the bare minimum that somebody gives you, because like each tiny proof of affection from somebody, it's like the spark of love that you like, you feel, you like, you smell the love, and it's like all of a sudden you're totally overwhelmed, even if it's just like a tiny proof that somebody just likes you or wants to talk to you or whatever. It's not even love, it's just like really bare minimum, and you are so caught up with it, and you want the love so much that you stick to it, and it can end up in a many different types of bad ways, because you end up in relationships that aren't really good for you, basically, with the narcissists, with people who want to use you, or there is no love. It's like it's something that you are searching for, and that you're never gonna get outside of yourself, basically, because your parents want.
It's like you settle for, like, or you're always making excuses or giving second chances too, because you're like, oh my gosh, I need to go ahead and deal with this. I do care about this person, so eventually it'll be, reciprocated to me. And wow, if I have to leave this relationship, gosh, the other one didn't work out either. I'm just like unlovable. That's that lie.
Yeah.
I'm unlovable. It's like your mind is telling you that you're not allowed to fail at something, or somebody can fail you and you really did give your all, and that is still a scenario that can happen if you didn't put up boundaries and put your foot down in the beginning. You may not have done anything wrong, but you allowed someone to mistreat you off the top of the relationship, at the beginning of the relationship. There was little signs and you ignored them because you were so infatuated and dreaming up this love that you let your mind go way further than what was actually in front of you. And you ended up in a really bad situation doing that, because you cannot will anyone and wish anyone or pray anyone into being healthy, being honest, not being deceitful, not being abusive. You know, you can only manage your own tempo. And it's like a control thing to think that you could change someone. So that person's even resentful to you in that relationship because they feel as though you're trying to control them and they just want to be themselves, which is not that kind of a person.
Yeah, exactly. So the whole purpose of the therapy of the adult children of toxic parents is to take care of this void, take care of this void yourself, because now you're a grown up and you can give this the child in you, basically the love that he or she never had. And this is the inner child therapy, which is pretty effective, and in my opinion, it's so effective because it works in a subconscious mind more. It's not like a cognitive therapy. Yeah, of course, cognitive therapy is really important, and you need to hear the story first and you need to talk about it, and it's really important too. But all the magic happens in the subconscious mind, and the inner child therapy, I really recommend it. It's just seriously, it's magic, because the sooner you realize that you're never gonna get the unconditional love again, it's gone. I mean, this part of your life is gone. You're not a child anymore. Your parent is probably never gonna be the parent that you want, and the sooner you realize that, the better for you. And the next step is to just give the love that you have never received, and the support and the recognition that you never experienced, to give it yourself to yourself. And that's the source of the healthy self-esteem that can build up on that. And with the healthy self-esteem, you can decide who you want to spend your life with. You can decide who your friends are. You are not afraid to set boundaries. You are not afraid to be yourself. You don't have to add all those, accomplishments. You don't have to make another. I mean, it's great to develop, and I love it. I love doing workshops and stuff, but it's not, you don't have to do it in order to feel okay and to be okay. You can be just how you are right now, and you are already perfect, so that's the point that I love all of us to be. And
I love
it's
it.
possible with therapy.
I think that work is so integral to healing, and you just have so much, you just feel so much more empowered once you do that. And a lot of people think, I do love myself. I do. They are completely oblivious to the fact that they are being used in several different areas of their life, at work, in their family of origin, and they're an adult, in their marriage, and by their kids. So they're being used and treated badly, and they have bad boundaries. Like, all these things are going on, and they're in denial of that, and they're depressed, and they're overeating, or they're fatigued. They have no energy. They're drained because they're giving everything that they have to everyone else, and they leave nothing for themselves. And that's something that I was doing for a long time. I'm like, I'm a performer. I'm a high executioner. Let me help you because you don't know how to do this. So I'm going to do it for you. Oh, you need help too. I'm going to do that for you too. Oh, you need help. I'm going to do that for you too. Oh, I feel good because I'm helping. That person is just like using you like an ATM machine that has a default. And if you go press however much money you want out of it, it's going to come out, and you're going to keep doing it. Because like, oh my gosh, I don't want to tell anybody about this. Oh my gosh, this ATM machine is like behind the store. Like nobody goes back there. It's like ghetto back there. And I found out that this particular ATM that seemed to be like out of business is working. So I'm going to keep going and getting money whenever I need to. Ooh, it still works. Ooh, I still got what I needed, and I didn't have to give anything back. And I'm not being held accountable for the money that I'm taking because no one knows, so that's kind of like all of the relationships that I've had in my life, and other people that have been through some of the same things that I've been through have had those things happen to them too. So, it took me leaving the narcissistic marriage was so bad that it was just eye-opening to everything. Because I was like, never again in my life will I ever feel like this. This can't be my life. So my boundaries are like so healthy. My self-esteem is so healthy. My confidence level is like through the roof. And my focus and vision was never not there. So it's not like I was like a depressed, like sad, like person that didn't have self-esteem. It's just like I wasn't empowered to say, I don't have to deal with this. I'm not gonna put up with this. And you don't have to be in my life. I can decide that if you don't change, or you're not willing to change, and you're not willing to admit anything, and you're not willing to make peace or hear me out or be empathetic, I don't have to stand in this place for you, because all I'm doing is helping you continue to be the way that you are.
Yeah, good for you. And the setting boundaries actually is the great test for all the relationships. When you figure out what is that you need, and you start setting boundaries with your friends, with your spouse, with your partner, with your parents,
run away.
and yeah, and you don't receive an understanding, or at least a listen from the other side, that means that the relationship is toxic. That's easy. And this is what people are also afraid of, that when I start setting boundaries, I will be alone all of a sudden, because everybody will be gone. And that's what kind of happened, because my situation was similar to yours. From what you're saying, I was also the one who was helping everybody, and when I realized what is going on, and when I found out, well, basically it was also by accident that I found out that my childhood was toxic. I was in the office, and we were listening to the radio, and there was an interview with a psychologist, with a therapist, basically, and she was talking about the parentification, the notion where yeah, exactly, the switching roles of the child and parent. The child takes care of the parent, and it was like, oh my God, this was my situation. And all of a sudden, I'm 30 something years old, and I found out that everything was basically a lie. So it was amazing. And then when I started reading about it, and getting education about it, I also learned about the drama triangle. It's a really interesting also topic to maybe discuss, and also for your viewers to maybe read about it, because it's really something that we more or less aware.
You call it drama?
Get into drama triangle, yes.
Is it the same as like triangulation? Whenever you're pitting people against each other to seem important and keep them both in your life?
No, it's not. No? I mean, there is an element of that, but it's about there are three elements of a drama triangle. There is a rescuer, and you and me, we were the rescuers. We were rescuing everybody from what you were saying. Oh, I will do this. I will do this for you. I will help you. Can I do this? And then there's a victim, the one that you are helping. And then there's the third person is the one, the persecutor.
Ooh.
And you move, you switch places and switch roles in the drama triangle in different relationships that you have in your life. And it's an amazing idea. Anyway, it's really eye-opening. And when you start setting boundaries, actually a lot of people kind of just all of a sudden are out of your life, because you realize that if you don't if you don't go out and propose, okay, let's do this, let's meet, then the other person is not suggesting anything, and it was only you that was actually working on that. Yeah, and it's also it's the same with the parents, with toxic parents, because this is also a relationship that should be addressed if your childhood was toxic, because the emotional struggle and the emotional connection to the toxic parent is so strong because of the manipulation that was going on in your childhood. All of those manipulative, really bad mechanisms that were planted in your head and in your heart that make you feel guilty about setting boundaries, just living your life, doing
Like doubt
whatever you
yourself,
feel, you
like
know what?
self-doubt. I'm sorry, like self-doubt as well.
Yeah, so it's really important. Yeah, of course, yeah, and it's really important to address it and start taking care of yourself and figuring out what is good for you, you know, because so many times we think about everybody else. We want to help everybody else, but we are afraid to take the focus from the people to us, you know, like. So yeah, it's an important part of healing, figuring out what is that I want, what is that I need, and
Yeah, I want to add on to that. When you start to do that, toxic people will say, "Oh, she's selfish. Oh, look at her. She thinks she's all that now. Oh, she's like got an ego. Oh, she's real into herself." But you're not doing anything wrong except for really treating yourself the way that you should have, you know, from day one, and nurturing yourself, because that energy is you're gonna be elevated on the inside, and what you're gonna give off is gonna be healthy. So now healthy people are gonna be attracted to you because they feel that light and they feel that power in you. You're not oppressed anymore. You broke the chains and you are, you know, sticking to it. And so naturally, the energy will shift, and those people have to leave because they got to be purged out of your life. Very rarely will they understand and want to stay there because people are like spoiled. This is what's supposed to happen. You've been conditioned this way. Why are you not doing it? You're bad. That's just how people are that are toxic, you know? And once you break those chains, which is the hardest thing ever in life to do, because you're totally rewriting your brain, you're totally reprogramming everything that's in there. There's a huge paradigm shift, you know? And you're no longer self-hating, self-blaming. You're no longer thinking the grass is greener on the other side. You realize this is enough. I'm enough, and I'm going to work on all of this, and I'm going to heal all of this, and I'm going to start to feel better, look better, go out and, you know, face the world with more confidence because I'm sure of who I am. No one can, you know, I'm not wavering around anymore. I'm not a branch. I'm the root of my own tree. And, you know, people that I want to add on to it will be the branches. I'm not going to be the branch of my own life. No more, you know. So when you stand firm like that, people think, who does she think she is? And she's not all that. And she's really overvaluing herself. She really over-evaluated herself. Let's dump her. Let's reject her. That way she pipes it back down and, you know, realizes that she's not all that, you know. And you say, okay, well, the journey continues. Might be a little lonely right now, but it had to have happened for a reason, because I know that me healing myself can't be the wrong move. And I'm not going to be ashamed about anything that is authentic that I do, say, or live, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And as soon as you go out in the world with this new energy and the new attitude where you are the center of your universe, you know, because you are, then like really valuable people start entering your life. And by valuable, I mean people who really like to be with you because you are who you are, you know. They just like you for you, and there is no conditions that you need to be like, it's unconditional. Basically, you don't have to keep giving them anything for them to be around you. So it can be scary. I know that it is, because like you said, it's like the whole world is basically upside down for a second, but it's really powerful. And to me, it was the beginning of a new life. However corny it sounds, I have a new life right now. So
Absolutely.
it's beautiful. And it's great also that you can break the toxic cycle that might have been in your family for generations, and you can make your children be healthy adults. I mean, nobody is perfect, no parent is perfect, but there is a difference between not being perfect and being toxic. So
Yes.
breaking the cycle is a blessing, and it's beautiful.
Amen to all of that, Susanna. I feel like I'm in church. I'm like, my spirit is like on high right now. I'm like on 10. Okay. I'm on 10 out of 10. Gosh, this is like, just talking about this stuff is just powerful. It's like healing, like, it's like all lit up and all happy and jittery. But
it is high energy, true.
It really is, when you've experienced that and you've done the work. Oh my gosh. And you're not waiting for someone to say, good job, from your family or something like that, or waiting for someone to say, yeah, I apologize. I see how hard you worked in your life because I kind of like left you out there and wow, look at you. No one's gonna say anything, and you're not even looking for that anymore. You're like so focused on who this new person is.
Exactly.
That it's kind of like an RIP to that. Literally, rest in peace. Hopefully you get your stuff together, but I gotta go here. And I know that you're not gonna come find me, and that's proof right there that I need to stay moving forward and not turn back around and try to, plug myself back into that very dysfunctional unit.
Yeah, and this whole notion of not giving a damn anymore it's a beautiful and very needed thing, because you're not frustrated trying to get things that you will never get from people that just don't know how to give it to you. So that's a blessing, actually. And the other thing is that when you are into healing and when you are on your path to healing, then you start seeing that actually the toxic childhood and all those really tough experiences that you had were also there was kind of a blessing in it. I mean, I don't know if this was part of your experience, but like with my mother, we had the parentification, which is like I was kind of a mother and she was like a child, even though I was like 7 or 8 years old. And she made me feel responsible for her well-being and emotional well-being and many other stuff. But generally, what I see now is that actually, I wanted to say because of that, but I will say thanks to that, I'm this type of a person that I am now, which is somebody who is capable of doing many things at the same time. I know that I'm able to handle different situations. I can act under pressure. And I mean, it's really like when you are deeper and farther into healing, it's really easy to look for the silver lining in all of that.
I wasn't the parentified child. I was the youngest daughter. There's like 4 sisters. I was like number 4. So the oldest was the parentified child, but I can completely, agree with what you're saying and identify with what you're saying, because I left the home at like 14, 15 to get away from the abuse. And I did have to grow up, fast. I grew up fast. everything that I did was at an accelerated pace. Like I finished college, undergrad at like 19 or something. I finished my master's degree at 21. I was working like a career job with a salary at like 22. Like I did all of that stuff really early. And it's like the fundamentals, like the foundation of life was set so early that I was able to kind of start working on personal life stuff, which I didn't do that great at either. So it's like one area was really good and one area wasn't. It was like had a severe deficit. Yeah, but you know, I'm thankful that I was able to kind of like know what I wanted to do with my life, because I knew that it was so hard for me. And I'm like, I have to be able to help people. There's got to be other people out there going through what I'm going through. I want to be that like down to earth, not stuck up, look at my flaws too type of a therapist, you know, that really makes people feel comfortable. And you know, one of the things that I do, whether it's therapy or coaching, is I, you know, kind of come down to my client's level and I'll share like a little bit about something that can identify with what they're saying, because a lot of times they're coming in there with some information they feel they may be judged on, or they think that you're like this perfect person because you're a therapist, you know, you're this great healer, and they think there's no way that you've been through some of these things. So when I reveal some of that, they're like, oh my gosh, okay, I picked the right person. Like, yes, you did. You picked the right therapist, because I literally went through exactly what you went through, and this is how I made it out, you know. So I just, it feels really good to help people when I'm at work. And that's what I'm trying to do now with my life, is because before it's like, oh, she's a therapist, you know, and everyone wants help or wants you to listen to them, and you already did that all week. So I'm trying to keep that part of my life in the office, and then I, you know, work on my arts, music, and film and all that stuff, and just be Tina outside of that, because I've always had to like suppress that area to make sure that I'm there for everybody else, to help everybody else. And it's like, you know, no more boundaries, and you know, time and place for everything. You know, you can't heal all day, or else you won't have anything left, no energy left for yourself, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Boundaries is the key, and self-care, especially doing the work that we do, self-care, and and realizing that there is a limit to everything and to everyone. Also realizing that there are people who you are not able to help. It happens, you know. There are some people that you're just not gonna help, and that's also fine, you know. There are other therapists and other coaches that will have a different experience with that person. This was a difficult one for me.
I like that. Yes, you gotta like be, you know, able to say, I can't work on this. Like, this isn't this, you know. I think that you would do better like finding someone who specializes in this particular area. I like that, because you know, our ego will get ahead of us and be like, okay, yeah, I can take that on, and then you get in there and you really know what to do with them. So you know, there's a plethora of helpers, healers, therapists, coaches now. So you know, I would try to. And I do try to turn people in the right direction, you know, because it's really not about money. It's about making sure that person, you know, is really able to get something out of it whenever they leave, you know, treatment.
Yeah, exactly. And be able to manage everyday situations on their own. This is my goal in therapy, and this is also what's beautiful in the working with inner child, because it's also it's a tool that you can use in everyday situations, because it's not about spending an hour on therapy once a week. Of course, it helps and it guides you, but then 99.9% of your time you are alone in your life, and you have all those difficult situations that for example, when you get triggered by something that somebody did and it reminded you of your childhood, and you're not even aware of that. It happens a lot, and then you know, it's about giving tools to work in those type of situations also.
Yes, I love it. So these are like, there's so many things that can come up with the work that you do. I mean, you got to go into the family dynamics, family systems. You know, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapy, so I'm all about that systemic, way of treating and handling a case. And I mean, this is just completely, family therapy. This is just all
it is.
there. And it's just like it's almost like a never-ending work. Yeah, like in the beginning, it might be a lot more going on, but then, like you said, the triggers. You're gonna need help with the triggers. People will trigger you, and how are you gonna handle that? A lot of times, when I'm triggered, I will let the person know, hey, I'm not going to be able to put up with that. I know that that's probably something that you do and other people are okay with it, but due to my history, it's kind of like causing like some PTSD flare-up kind of thing going on inside of me. So I would prefer that you not do that, and also give them an alternative thing to do instead, and not just say like, don't do that. And then the person's like, okay, well, this is just how I am. I don't know what to do then. I can't be around you because I don't know what else to do. And it might be just 2 words changed in whatever they said and how they said it, and that could make a world of a difference,
Yeah, exactly. It's beautiful to be able to first of all, to be aware that you were triggered, because usually it happens unconsciously, and you just kind of, for example, all of a sudden blow up because somebody said something or did something and didn't even mean that, didn't mean anything wrong, but it reminded you of something that happened in your childhood. So to me, it's as soon as we know that there was something wrong in our childhood and we start working on that, I feel that it's our responsibility to address our issues, because, being raised in toxic families, it's such a huge burden, and it's like walking with this really heavy backpack, which is not even yours, and you don't even know what's inside of that, but it's really heavy, and it makes you, walk in a funny way. And so as soon as you realize what's the deal with all that, really taking responsibility for how you behave, how you react, what your emotions are, and listening to your emotions, because this is another thing that we weren't taught to do. Being raised in toxic families, you weren't allowed to be yourself. You weren't allowed to be sad or angry or whatever you felt, and it's such a huge loss, actually, not being in touch with your emotions, because even and especially the difficult ones, fear and anger, this is such a huge source of information for us. If somebody makes you angry, what actually happened? Did somebody cross my boundaries? What's wrong? What can I do to make it better? And how can I respond to that? So like you said, it's a huge pile of different layers and layers that should be addressed, and should be kind of put under the light sometimes for the first time in our lives.
Absolutely, man. This was such an awesome conversation. Ms. Susanna, would you come back? Would you ever come back on at another time? Because I just think that there's just so much more information to share.
Let's do this. Let's do this.
The tribe. So I would like for you to be a reoccurring guest. Anytime you want to, come on and have a topic that you want to discuss. Oh, I would love to. This was awesome. Can you let people know where they can find you, online, any programs that you have going on? Anything that, if they're like, ooh, I need that work done. I want to do that work. I want Susanna in my life. I don't care if she's in Poland. I'm calling her.
Go ahead. You can reach me through Instagram. This is how we connected with Tina, actually. My Instagram is surviving.toxic. toxic.parents, and I put almost every day I put some information for you to support you in your everyday struggle with toxic parents, so it can be a support for you. Also, if you feel like having a session with me, just DM me and we can set the date and time. I also have a website, zuzannacool.com/English. There's some information about my background and how I work and what do I do to support adult children of toxic parents. So feel free to connect.
Awesome. Man, you are, how long have you been doing this? Because this is just like, it's just like second nature for you. It's how you live your life, and I can feel that.
Thank you. Well, I started in 2016, so it's been 5 years, and I've been going deeper and deeper and learning new modalities of therapy in order to be effective the most. But and it's also my experience, and since my childhood was toxic, and I was actually able to create a new type of connection with my mother, which is it's a miracle, basically. I didn't realize, like, if you told me a few years ago that I would have a loving relationship with my narcissistic mother, I would have never ever think that it will ever happen, but it did, and it's going on. So it's possible. I mean, it's not always possible, and I don't want you now to think that it's not like 100%, but it happened with me, and I was able to heal our relationship, and I was able to support the healing of relationships with my clients with their parents, and that's what I do on the everyday basis, daily basis. So it flows out of me, it's my experience.
That is awesome work. So yes, I know that this is an area that will help a lot of people, and I'm so glad that you've shed light on it. When I saw your page, I'm not sure how it all happened, but I was like, that's important. It's like it spoke to me because it's something that I've like, that's important. How does this all go? Let's talk to her. So just thank you for making yourself available. Thank you, and I apologize for having to move back this time, even though you're 6 hours ahead and I'm keeping you up late. You're the best. I appreciate your understanding, and we'd love to have you back, guys. Make sure you go check her out, okay? And hopefully you'll see us back doing another topic on this, toxic parents. All right, take care. Peace, love, and light. Bye.